Angkor Wat, the eternal temple of Cambodia. Angkor Wat is more than a temple. It is a universe in miniature, designed to embody the cosmos itself. Its builders followed the ancient Khmer concept of the Temple Mountain, a fusion of religion, politics and cosmology. At the heart of Hindu and Buddhist tradition lies Mount Meru, the sacred mountain at the centre of all creation. According to mythology, Meru rises from the cosmic ocean and is ringed by concentric ranges of mountains inhabited by gods, demons and celestial beings. To ascend Meru is to approach heaven, to control it is to command divine authority. Angkor Wat was conceived as a physical recreation of Mount Meru. Its 5 soaring towers form a quincunx, 4 at the corners and 1 at the centre, mirroring Meru's 5 peaks. The vast moat, 190 metres wide, represents the cosmic ocean. The outer wall, more than a kilometre long on each side, symbolises the mountains encircling the universe. As worshippers walked inward, terrace by terrace, they were ascending from the earthly realm to the celestial domain. At the very centre stands the central tower, rising 65 metres above the upper platform. This was the symbolic summit of Mount Meru, the dwelling place of the gods, and, in Khmer belief, the place where the king himself would unite with the divine after death. Access was hierarchical. Ordinary people remained at the outer terraces, while priests and royalty moved closer to the sacred centre. The architecture itself was a map of spiritual privilege, the mystery of orientation. One of Angkor Wat's great puzzles is its orientation. Most Khmer temples face east, towards the rising sun, symbol of rebirth and life. But Angkor Wat faces west, the direction of the setting sun, of decline and death. For scholars such as Maurice Glaze and George Codes, this westward axis reveals Angkor Wat's role as a funerary temple. The king who built it, Suryavarman II, may have intended it as his eternal resting place. Supporting this theory, the bas-reliefs of the temple must be viewed counterclockwise, the reverse of the usual sacred circuit. In Hindu tradition, this reverse movement, called prasavya, was associated with funeral rites. But other historians note that west is also the cosmic direction of Vishnu, the god to whom the temple was dedicated. From this perspective, the orientation symbolises divine alignment rather than death. Archaeologists have even found evidence of a funerary deposit beneath the central tower, suggesting that Angkor Wat was both a temple to Vishnu and a memorial to a king. In truth, it may have been deliberately ambiguous, a shrine that united royal power, divine blessing, and eternal rest into one cosmic whole. Astronomical possibilities. Some researchers go further, suggesting that Angkor Wat's plan encodes astronomical alignments. Studies have argued that the central tower aligns with the rising sun at the equinox, while other axes may relate to solstices and lunar cycles. The temple's galleries may also hold numerical symbolism. The lengths of the walls and causeways correspond, according to some interpretations, to measurements of the solar year and lunar months. Whether or not these alignments were intentional, they remind us of the Khmer architect's deep concern with time, cycles and eternity. Symbolism in every stone. The symbolism was not only cosmic, but also political and personal. By recreating the universe in stone, Suryavarman II placed himself at its centre. Angkor Wat proclaimed him as a Chakravartin, a universal monarch who ruled not just the land, but the cosmic order itself. Even the smallest details carried meaning. The lotus motifs carved into stairways symbolise purity and divine birth. The Devata and Apsaras that line the walls represented celestial beings inhabiting this sacred cosmos. The entire structure worked as a theological blueprint, reminding visitors and worshippers alike of the king's divine status. Angkor Wat is thus not simply a temple. It is a cosmogram, a three-dimensional map of the universe, a political manifesto in stone, and a funerary monument to a king who sought eternity. Its design embodies the Khmer genius for blending religion, science and statecraft into a single vision that still inspires awe today. The scale of Angkor Wat is staggering. Covering more than 162 hectares, it remains the largest religious monument in the world. To the people of the 12th century, it was a statement of unmatched ambition, an attempt to build eternity itself in stone. The outer enclosure measures 1.5 by 1.3 kilometres, surrounded by a moat nearly 200 metres wide and filled with water that symbolises the cosmic ocean. Crossing the moat by the grand sandstone causeway, a visitor enters an immense world of symmetry, precision and hidden engineering. Materials of eternity. At first glance, Angkor Wat seems entirely carved from sandstone. The pale golden blocks form the walls, towers, balustrades and endless reliefs. But the structure hides a clever secret. Much of its core is built from laterite, a reddish, porous stone abundant in Cambodia. Later it was lighter, easier to quarry and strong enough for hidden foundations and walls. The sandstone, prized for its smooth surface and fine carving qualities, came from the Phnom Kulen Mountains, over 40 kilometres to the northeast. Moving these colossal blocks was no small task. Each weighed several tons, and scholars estimate that 5 to 10 million individual blocks were required for the entire complex. Transporting stone, the Khmer canals. How were these blocks transported? The answer lies in the Khmer mastery of water engineering. Recent studies by scholars such as Etsuo Uchida and Ichita Shimoda revealed a system of canals linking the quarries at Phnom Kulen to Angkor. These canals allowed blocks to be floated downstream during the monsoon season. One canal, more than 35 kilometres long, appears to have been dug specifically for temple construction. By harnessing waterways, the Khmer transformed rivers into highways for stone. Precision without mortar. Once at Angkor, the sandstone blocks were cut, shaped and fitted with astonishing precision. No mortar was used. Instead, blocks were locked together through careful jointing, grooves and gravity itself. The result is masonry so tight that even today, centuries later, some joints are nearly invisible. The builders also employed corbelling techniques, stacking stones in gradually overlapping layers to form arches and vaults. Though lacking the true arch of Roman architecture, the Khmer perfected this method, creating passageways and chambers that still stand today. The workforce behind the wonder. Behind the temple's grandeur was a vast labour force. Historians estimate that tens of thousands of workers were mobilised: stone cutters, masons, sculptors, engineers and slaves or conscripted peasants. Skilled artisans carved apsaras, devata and epics from the Mahabharata and Ramayana, while priests and architects ensured every measurement followed sacred principles. Evidence suggests the Khmer state operated on a corvée labour system where villages were required to supply manpower for royal projects. This made Angkor Wat not just the achievement of one king, but the collective work of an entire civilization. Engineering the landscape. The engineering extended beyond stone. Angkor Wat was integrated into the empire's hydraulic system, a vast network of canals, reservoirs and dikes that watered rice fields and sustained the city's population. The moat around the temple was not just symbolic, but practical, stabilising the sandy soil and preventing collapse. This hydraulic engineering was so advanced that some archaeologists call Angkor a hydraulic city, capable of feeding hundreds of thousands of people. Angkor Wat was the jewel of this urban landscape, both sacred temple and centrepiece of Khmer engineering, a monument of numbers. Consider the numbers: over 5 million tonnes of sandstone, a moat covering 200 hectares of water, walls stretching more than 3.6 kilometres around the site, reliefs covering nearly 2,000 square metres of surface area. Every detail was deliberate, every measurement symbolic, reflecting the Khmer mastery of both art and mathematics. Angkor Wat's scale and engineering were not simply about grandeur, they were about eternity. By harnessing stone, water, and the labour of thousands, the Khmer built a temple that could withstand centuries of monsoons, wars, and jungle growth. In doing so, they left behind one of the most enduring testaments to human ingenuity on earth. The carvings, stories in stone. If the architecture of Angkor Wat reflects the universe, then its walls tell the stories of gods, heroes, demons and kings who inhabit it. The carvings that wind through nearly 2 kilometres of gallery walls form one of the largest and most intricate narrative friezes ever created by humankind. Every inch of sandstone was transformed into myth, history and devotion. For the Khmer, carving was not decoration. It was an act of faith, a way to make the sacred visible. The bas-reliefs are stone epic. Angkor Wat's bas-reliefs cover an estimated 2,000 square metres of surface area. These continuous galleries were designed to be read as sacred texts in stone. Each of the 8 main panels tells a different story, combining mythological, cosmological and historical scenes. But unlike other temples in Angkor, these stories are read counterclockwise, a subtle yet powerful reversal that supports the theory of Angkor Wat as a funerary temple. This leftward progression mirrors the path of the setting sun and the ritual movement used in funeral ceremonies. The churning of the Sea of Milk. The most famous relief located on the Eastern Gallery is the churning of the Sea of Milk, a grand cosmic allegory drawn from Hindu mythology. Here, gods, devas and demons, asuras, grip the body of the great serpent Vasuki, which is coiled around Mount Mandara, used as a churning stick. Under the supervision of Vishnu, the two sides pull back and forth, agitating the cosmic ocean to produce the nectar of immortality, Amrita. At the centre, Vishnu stands in perfect calm, commanding the cosmic struggle. Below him, celestial turtles and fish swirl, while apsaras and divine beings rise from the foaming waters. The scene represents the eternal cycle of creation and destruction, good and evil, a fitting metaphor for the universe Angkor Wat itself embodies. The Battle of Kurukshetra. On the southern wall, the Battle of Kurukshetra unfolds, the climactic war from the Mahabharata, one of India's greatest epics. Armies of the Kauravas and Pandavas clash in a scene of divine chaos. Lines of soldiers march into battle. Elephants trample warriors beneath their feet, and generals ride in chariots pulled by rearing horses. Above, celestial beings watch the conflict, reminding viewers that even mortal wars are part of the gods' cosmic drama. This relief is not simply a story, it is a political mirror. The Khmer kings, like the Pandavas, saw themselves as righteous warriors, defending divine order against chaos. Through these scenes, Suryavarman II proclaimed himself the earthly defender of cosmic justice. The Battle of Lanka. Another wall shows the Battle of Lanka from the Ramayana epic. The hero Rama, incarnation of Vishnu, leads an army of monkeys against the demon king Ravana to rescue his wife, Sita. The artistry is dynamic. Figures leap, twist and fly through battle, capturing movement and energy. The monkey general Hanuman leads legions across the ocean, while Ravana's chariot charges into the fray, with his 10 heads carved in fierce detail. This story of love, loyalty and divine virtue resonate deeply with Khmer beliefs. Rama's triumph symbolised the victory of Dharma, moral order over chaos. The historical procession of Suryavarman II. Among the mythic battles and cosmic churning lies a unique scene of history, a royal procession depicting King Suryavarman II himself. Here the king sits majestically on a throne, shaded by royal parasols, surrounded by courtiers and soldiers. Below, lines of warriors march in ordered ranks. Above, celestial beings witness his glory. This relief immortalises the king's triumphs and asserts his divine right to rule. He appears serene, larger than all other figures, a visual language declaring his semi-divine nature. Historians note how the Khmer artisans fused realism with idealism. Individual faces are distinct, yet the overall composition radiates divine harmony. The heavens and the hells. Perhaps the most haunting of all are the heavens and hells carved along the northern gallery. Here, 37 heavens and 32 hells are shown in precise, ordered tiers. In heaven, the blessed rest in gardens of flowers. Musicians play celestial instruments, and apsaras dance. Below them, in the hells, sinners are punished in ways that mirror their earthly crimes. Liars have their tongues torn out, thieves are bound in chains, and the greedy are boiled in cauldrons. It is a vivid moral lesson carved for eternity, showing that in Khmer belief, divine justice ruled all realms, both seen and unseen. The Devata and Apsaras, celestial dancers of stone. Beyond the grand narratives are thousands of Devata and Apsaras, the celestial women who populate nearly every wall of Angkor Wat. Over 1,500 Devata figures have been counted, each unique, each adorned with different jewellery, headdresses and expressions. They were not mere decoration. They symbolised divine grace, fertility, and the bridge between heaven and earth. The Apsaras, the dancing spirits, embody joy, movement, and the beauty of the divine feminine. Scholars such as Bante Srez, George Coedes, and later art historians see them as expressions of Khmer aesthetic ideals, soft faces, arched eyebrows, and serene smiles known as the Angkorian smile. These carvings may have been inspired by real royal dancers whose performances were ritual offerings to the gods. In their eternal dance, the Apsaras keep the cosmos in balance. Artistic techniques and legacy. The skill of the Khmer sculptors remains unmatched. They carve directly into sandstone walls, using chisels of iron and bronze. Each panel was planned in advance, ensuring seamless continuity over hundreds of metres. The reliefs are carved in low relief, bas relief, with delicate use of light and shadow. Figures closer to the viewer are deeply cut, while distant ones are faint, creating depth long before the invention of perspective. Even today, conservationists study these methods. Projects such as the German Apsara conservation project train Cambodian artisans to clean, stabilise and restore the weathered carvings, ensuring that these stories remain visible for future generations. Every wall of Angkor Wat is alive with movement and meaning. Gods churn oceans, kings ride in triumph, and celestial dancers glide across eternity. Together, these carvings transform the temple from mere architecture into a living scripture. A story carved in stone that still speaks across 9 centuries of faith, beauty, and the divine imagination of the Khmer Empire. Life, city, and decline. Angkor Wat was never meant to stand alone. It was the shining heart of a vast, pulsing metropolis, the capital of the Khmer Empire, a civilization that, at its height between the 9th and 10th centuries, flourished in the heart of Southeast Asia, 14th centuries, ruled much of mainland Southeast Asia. This was Angkor, a word derived from the Sanskrit Nagara, meaning city. For centuries it was one of the largest and most sophisticated urban centres on earth. An immense sprawl of temples, canals, reservoirs, roads, farms, and wooden houses stretching across nearly 1,000 square kilometres. The hydraulic city. Angkor's genius lay not only in its temples but in its water. The Khmer engineers built an enormous hydraulic system, canals, moats and reservoirs known as barae, to control the seasonal monsoon floods. 2 colossal reservoirs, the East Barae and West Barae, each several kilometres long, acted as both irrigation and flood control systems. These man-made lakes fed networks of smaller channels that distributed water to rice fields and replenished wells. The most recent LiDAR light detection and ranging surveys, led by archaeologists Damien Evans and Roland Fletcher, have revealed that Angkor was not a cluster of temples lost in jungle, but a vast low-density urban landscape. Hidden beneath the forest canopy are the traces of streets, neighbourhoods, industrial zones and rice paddies, proving that Angkor may have supported a population of up to 1 million people, making it the largest pre-industrial city in the world. This hydraulic mastery sustained the empire for centuries. Rice surpluses fueled wealth, supported armies, and fed the artisans who carved Angkor Wat itself. Life around Angkor Wat. Life around Angkor Wat was both sacred and practical. The temple was not isolated. It was surrounded by villages, monasteries, and rice fields. Monks tended shrines, chanting prayers that echoed through the corridors, while markets bustled beyond the walls with merchants, craftsmen and pilgrims. The Khmer world was hierarchical yet vibrant. At the top stood the Devaraya, the god king, who was both ruler and divine intermediary. Below him were nobles, priests and military commanders. Beneath them, artisans, labourers and farmers. Women held respected roles as traders, dancers and temple attendants, and many scholars believe they played a key part in Angkor's spiritual life, perhaps even inspiring the countless apsaras carved into its walls. Daily life revolved around the cycles of agriculture and religion. The monsoon determined planting and harvest. The moon determined festivals and rituals. At night, oil lamps flickered in shrines, while distant drums beat for royal ceremonies at the palace complex. The reign of Jayavarman VII and the shift to Buddhism. After Suryavarman II's death, Angkor continued to thrive, but its religious identity began to change. In the late 12th century, King Jayavarman VII, one of the most celebrated Khmer rulers, came to power following a period of chaos after invasions from the Chams of present-day Vietnam. Jayavarman VII was a Mahayana Buddhist, and he transformed the empire's spiritual landscape. He built the Bayon with its iconic smiling faces, and the city of Angkor Thom, a new capital enclosed within mighty walls. Under his reign, Theravada Buddhism gradually replaced Hinduism as the dominant faith. Yet Angkor Wat, though Hindu in origin, was never abandoned. Instead, it was re-sanctified, its images reinterpreted, its Vishnu statues joined by Buddhas. This seamless blending of faith shows how adaptable Khmer spirituality could be. Decline and abandonment. But by the 14th century, the mighty city began to falter. Archaeologists and climate scientists have pieced together multiple factors behind Angkor's decline. The first culprit was climate change. Tree ring data and sediment cores show a pattern of decades-long droughts, followed by devastating floods. The once reliable monsoon became erratic, destroying the delicate balance of the hydraulic system. Reservoirs silted up, canals broke apart, and without constant maintenance, the city's lifeblood, water, turned against it. At the same time, the empire faced external pressures. Invasions by the Ayutthaya Kingdom of Thailand and shifts in regional trade routes eroded its power. The rise of coastal commerce favoured ports near modern-day Phnom Penh, drawing royal attention southward. Internally, the vast system of corvée labour, villagers bound to state service, became unsustainable as the population fragmented. By the 15th century, royal power had moved south, leaving Angkor a ghost of its former self. Yet the temples endured, reclaimed by the forest, but never forgotten by local monks and villagers who continued to worship there. The Chinese witness, Zhou Daguan. Our most vivid glimpse of Angkor in its final splendour comes from an outsider, the Chinese diplomat Zhou Daguan, who visited in 1296 to 97. His record, A Customs of Cambodia, describes a bustling city alive with pageantry and ritual. He marvelled at the king's golden palaces, the elephant processions, and the markets filled with rice, fruits and silk. He observed noblewomen with intricate hair ornaments, servants fanning their masters, and public ceremonies where the monarch appeared like a living god. But Zhou Daguan also noted the fragility behind the grandeur, the reliance on water, the rigid hierarchy, and the growing signs of strain. His account stands as the last detailed description of Angkor before its decline. The fall of an empire, the survival of a temple. When the empire collapsed, Angkor Wat remained. While other temples were consumed by jungle, Angkor Wat's moat and continued religious use protected it from total ruin. Buddhist monks cared for it through centuries of change, ensuring that this symbol of Khmer genius would never vanish entirely. To the outside world, Angkor became legend, whispered by travellers, half hidden in vines. But to the Khmer it was still sacred ground, a place where their ancestors met the divine. Angkor city may have fallen silent, but Angkor Wat endured, serene, indestructible, eternal. It stands today not as a ruin, but as a living bridge between the glory of the past and the spirit of the present, reminding us that even when empires fade, faith and beauty can survive the centuries. The establishment of the Apsara National Authority, Cambodia's heritage management agency, gave the country direct control of its own heritage once more. Cambodian conservators, engineers and archaeologists now lead much of the ongoing work, supported by international partners. Modern challenges and successes. Today, Angkor Wat receives millions of visitors each year, a source of both pride and pressure. The site's popularity poses new challenges: erosion from foot traffic, humidity from crowds, and strain on infrastructure. Conservation teams now balance two goals: preserving the sanctity of the site and making it accessible to the world. Digital mapping, 3D scanning, and laser conservation techniques help document every stone and carving in unprecedented detail. At the same time, environmental shifts threaten the delicate ecosystem that surrounds the temple. Changes in water levels, deforestation, and climate stress remind us that Angkor's greatest strength, its relationship with water and nature, can also be its vulnerability. A living heritage. For Cambodians, Angkor Wat is not a relic. It is a living symbol. It appears on the national flag, in coins, and in the hearts of its people. It represents endurance after hardship, the rebirth of culture after tragedy, and the eternal bond between humanity and the divine. Thanks to the work of generations, scholars, archaeologists, and above all the Cambodian people themselves, Angkor Wat stands once more in glory, its stones whispering the stories of empire, faith, and survival. From its creation by Suryavarman II to its rediscovery, from near ruin to rebirth, Angkor Wat has transcended time. It remains one of humanity's greatest achievements, a temple that reflects the heavens, endures the ages, and reminds us that beauty and belief can outlast empires. Living monument and legacy. After 9 centuries, Angkor Wat still lives. Its towers still pierce the Cambodian sky. Its carvings still catch the morning sun, and its chants still echo beneath the same stones that heard the prayers of kings. Though empires have fallen, though the jungle has crept and receded, Angkor Wat endures, not as a ruin, but as a living heartbeat of a nation, a temple of faith still alive. Unlike so many ancient monuments that became silent museums, Angkor Wat remains a place of worship. Every day, monks, nuns, and lay people from across Cambodia come to pray, meditate, and light candles before the images of the Buddha and Vishnu. Its dual identity, both Hindu and Buddhist, continues to coexist in harmony. In one chamber, the 8-armed Vishnu statue known as Tar Reach still stands, worshipped as it has been for centuries. In others, serene Buddhas rest beneath gilded umbrellas, surrounded by offerings of lotus blossoms. Here religion is not confined to the past. The sacred and the everyday meet. A farmer kneels beside a tourist. A child bows before an ancient god, symbol of the nation. For modern Cambodia, Angkor Wat is more than heritage. It is identity. Its image adorns the national flag, the only country in the world whose flag features a monument. It appears on coins, banknotes, and official seals, a reminder of endurance through centuries of turmoil. After the horrors of the 20th century, when war and genocide shattered the country, Angkor Wat became a symbol of rebirth. It reminded Cambodians and the world that their culture, artistry, and faith had not been destroyed. To the Khmer people, Angkor Wat is not merely a temple of the past. It is proof that their ancestors reached the heights of creativity, and that the spirit of that greatness still flows through their veins. The spirit of the Khmer. Around the temple, daily life thrives once more. Artisans carve replicas of apsaras and devata, passing down ancient techniques. Dancers perform the apsara dance, a living tradition directly descended from the carvings on Angkor's walls. Musicians play the haunting tones of the ronia and kesediev, instruments that may have accompanied royal ceremonies 1,000 years ago. Tourism too sustains many livelihoods, though it must be balanced carefully. Each visitor's step on the worn sandstone adds to both the temple's story and its fragility. Conservationists now monitor vibrations, humidity and footfall to protect it from the very admiration that keeps it alive. Angkor in the world's imagination. Few monuments have so deeply captured the world's imagination. For explorers of the 19th century, it was a lost paradise. For scholars of the 20th, it became a key to understanding Southeast Asia's forgotten empires. For millions today, it is a pilgrimage site, a place that humbles the modern mind with its mystery and scale. Angkor Wat has inspired painters, writers and filmmakers around the world. From Pierre Loti's romantic travelogues to Werner Herzog's cinematic meditations, it stands as a symbol of humanity's eternal search for meaning. And for scientists and architects, it remains a marvel. Its orientation, geometry and construction still yielding new discoveries through modern technology. The eternal cycle. Every day the sun rises directly behind the central tower, bathing the temple in golden light. The same sunrise witnessed by Suryavarman II nearly 900 years ago. By evening the sun sets behind the western towers, sinking into the direction of death and eternity. This daily rhythm, sunrise and sunset, birth and death, creation and return, embodies the cosmic vision that shaped Angkor Wat. It is both temple and timepiece, myth and mathematics, dream and endurance, guardians of the future. Today, a new generation of Cambodians guards this legacy. Students at the Royal University of Fine Arts in Phnom Penh learn ancient conservation techniques alongside modern science. The Apsara National Authority trains local archaeologists, engineers and conservators, ensuring that the stewardship of Angkor remains in Cambodian hands. Global collaborations continue, but the heartbeat of preservation now comes from within. Angkor Wat has returned fully to the people who built it. Angkor Wat began as a king's vision of heaven on earth, a mountain for the gods, a palace for eternity. But across 9 centuries it has become something greater. It is the story of humanity's desire to reach the divine. It is the soul of a nation reborn from ruin. It is a mirror of the cosmos and of ourselves, reminding us that beauty, once created, can echo through the ages. And so, as the sun rises once more over the moat, and the monks begin their morning prayers, Angkor Wat endures, serene, eternal and alive, a testament to the boundless spirit of humankind.